The package is yet balanced. We appreciate that time is limited, but we don't appreciate being rushed to agree to something that is unsatisfactory. We do appreciate the work that is being undertaken by the facilitators and the chairs. We take note of the reports, in particular that further revisions and further consultations are to be undertaken. We also share the sentiments expressed by others of the need to look at the complete package. We can get to a certain point on each negotiation stream, but it really is about the balance of the package. But that overall balance does need to be tipped far greater in our favour from where it is at the moment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now I give the floor to Gambia.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The Gambia would like to speak on behalf of the 48 members of the least developed countries. We just want to reiterate the significance of the second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol in this package, and to indicate that balance, of course, is the most important thing, and we are the least satisfied with what we have been given. We want to see balance, and when we call for balance, it means some of our positions must be reflected, and this balance must be across all the three work streams that we are discussing. We are not going to be rushed into taking a decision because of time. We are here representing millions of people who are suffering, so we want to ensure that we go home with something that is acceptable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now I give the floor to Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for giving me the floor. I speak on behalf of the like-minded developing countries. At the onset, let me fully support the statement made by Algeria on behalf of the G77 in China, and I join others in thanking you for convening this meeting and for your continued commitment to an open, transparent, and inclusive process, not to forget your call for urgency and conclude our work as soon as we can. Again, Mr. President, time is not on our side, not here in Doha, not in the context of the advancing impacts of climate change. We are deeply concerned about where we stand now. Have we done enough? Have we managed to give justice to what the world demands of us? Have we honored the package we got out of Durban? Will we make it to our flights tomorrow? While we have seen a lot of hard work in the past week in trying to develop the various texts and ensuring that we identify landing grounds in various issues, we find ourselves staring at either no text or many sets of texts that remains reflective of failure to respond to the realities that we face. For the Kyoto Protocol track, we don't see ambition. We need to see higher numbers to reflect strong mitigation ambition for Annex 1 parties to the Kyoto Protocol, and a clear cancellation of surplus AAUs at the end of the second commitment period, no access to flexibility mechanisms for those who will not commit to a second commitment period, and limited use of surplus AAUs in the second commitment period. It has failed to reflect many of the views that we have put forward. Developing countries have put forward concrete proposals and have painstakingly worked on arriving at common ground on many issues, including the ambition mechanism, carryover of surplus AAUs, eligibility, provisional application numbers, in the earnest endeavor to make the second commitment period a meaningful one, a second commitment period that can provide a crucial basis for further enhancing global ambition. Our group has asserted many times that the second commitment period of the Kyoto Protocol is the single biggest measure of success here in Doha. As to whether we would live up to that measure, we are not sure. On LCA, Mr. President, we still fail to see how we can ensure that Annex 1 parties who are not part of the KP or are not committing to targets for the second commitment period would pursue comparable mitigation efforts. Also, in LCA, on finance, we see very little progress in the discussion on this very important issue of finance. You see very little progress on MRV of finance. And as we look at L4 right now, document L4, there is no text on finance. What we see here, as the distinguished representative of Nauru has articulated, is more talk but no action. On the other hand, there is very strong push to MRV actions of developing countries. On adaptation, there is very weak language in the text and reflects very little of what developing countries demand. The detail on the linkage of adaptation to the financial mechanism, technology, and capacity building has been taken out. We also have a lot of concerns about markets and sectoral issues. On the ADP, we think the process under the co-chairs of the ADP are progressing. There are a few key issues that still needs to be discussed. We have confidence in this process, and we would like the co-chairs to continue with this process and focus on a few issues, including equity, as embodied in the Rio +20 outcome, and on paragraph 16, regarding the organization of workshops on sectors. We are expected to send a strong political signal to the world in the form of adopting fully ratifiable amendments for the establishment of the second commitment period of KP. We also need to conclude in earnest the resolution of all issues under the Bali Action Plan. We also need to attain progress in the Durban Platform. Mr. President, we have endeavored to help Africa save the Kyoto Protocol and achieve success in Durban last year, not just to protect multilateralism, but to avert the climate crisis. We have made progress, but we need to do a lot more work here in Doha in these last few remaining precious hours in Asia, even with the last remaining hours that we have left. We are on the verge. We are one world. We are one global community. And we have no choice but to walk together on this journey. Now, Mr. President, we want to end any gathering with a triumphant note. And for us to triumph here, we need to heed the call for urgency, ambition, and means of implementation. The countries associated with this statement is ready to continue working with you, Mr. President, and arrive at that triumphant conclusion to this session. Now, Mr. President, with your indulgence, allow me please to speak on behalf of my own country, the Philippines. And on behalf of the Philippines, let me take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. President, the many parties, organizations from civil society, individuals, friends, and colleagues, and youth organizations who have expressed solidarity for the Philippines in these very trying times for my country. I wish to especially thank youth organizations who have profoundly touched our hearts for standing with us. Mr. President, this morning I talked with my 5-year-old daughter on the phone. My daughter's name is Amira, and you know how such a little princess can be such a darling. I promised her I will be there for a Christmas presentation in school. She was really excited. And she is going to play the little angel role. My son will also turn 9 in a couple of days. I have missed my son's birthday for the past 4 COPs. This is the only year I may be able to catch his birthday if we arrive at a successful, ambitious outcome as soon as we can. Confronting climate change and trying to make this world a better one is so much more than ourselves, so much more than what transpires within the halls of this convention center. It is about what our children will inherit from us. I'm sure there are a lot of mothers and fathers among us. Can I look my daughter in the eye, my son in the eye, and tell them, I did the best I could? Or do I tell them, I did my best, but it wasn't just good enough? I have a flight to catch to fulfill a promise I made to my children. And addressing climate change is about fulfilling promises, fulfilling our commitments, and taking responsibility and taking action. As we sit here at this stage in this session, can we honestly say to our children, I did my best? Are we gonna go home with the world empty-handed? Now, in closing, Mr. President, I will quote one of my favorite mathematicians, philosophers, Archimedes, who said, if I have a lever that is long enough, I can move the world. Mr. President, the collective will in this room is that lever, and if it is long enough, we can move the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And happy birthday to your children. And I hope Amira and her brother will grow very healthy and very strong. You see, I just have short notice, I'm not in rush. I am in home. My house is only 10 minutes driving distance. So I love you to stay here more days. The problem, please, the presidency is not pushing, not putting pressures. But most of you come to me yesterday, and saying, we are leaving Saturday. Please, President, finish Friday. So I force, all the others to work and to finish. Now with the text in your hand. So at 6 o'clock we come back to have blessing. I hope so. And you have time to discuss with the, with the facilitators and others to finalize it if you are in rush. If you don't rush, well, come with me. We will stay.